Thanks for joining us for another episode of Boom and Bust. I'm your host, Tony Clement, here at the News Forum, where all voices matter. As Canada grapples with the impact of the Trump tariffs, are there other approaches than merely retaliatory actions? Today, we will discuss the issues with Renaud Brossard. He is the Vice President, Communications at the Montreal Economic Institute. Welcome back to Boom and Bust.
It's always a pleasure to be back here.
So I guess we'll start off with the obvious question. Why are retaliatory tariffs not a good idea?
Well, if we look at what tariffs are, basically, they are attacks on consumers. Now, of course, we tend to think as consumers as individuals, people like you and I, and we are indeed consumers, but a lot of businesses are also consumers. So when we have, taxes on, actually, when the U.S. puts taxes on Canadian goods, such as, for instance, lumber, sure, it hurts our companies because they sell less lumber to the U.S., but it also hurts everybody down the line in the U.S. that uses lumber as part of their manufacturing processes. So the housing market, for instance, in the U.S. would probably see an increase in the cost of new constructions. The same logic works when we impose Canadian tariffs on U.S. goods. It increases the cost of those inputs and makes our transformation manufacturing sector a lot less efficient and lots less competitive on the international stage.
Yeah, so let's split it off between tariffs that are deployed by President Trump, which means the U.S. consumer is paying a price, right? Versus the retaliatory tariffs where the Canadian consumer is paying the price. So both of those things affect the Canadian economy in some way. None of it is neutral. So maybe just
None of it is
outline how it
none of it is
affects.
neutral.
Yeah.
So none of it is neutral, but they both add up to make an even worse effect. So when Trump imposes tariffs on Canadian goods, it hurts the U.S. economy. It also hurts the Canadian economy. Of course, every single manufacturing business basically sees that their products see a bump in price in the U.S., but they don't get those proceeds. So essentially, it is bad for our companies. Let's be very clear. But in the same way, when we put retaliatory tariffs, we're making it even worse for our companies in a sense. So think of our grocery stores, for instance. We've had a big issue of food inflation last couple of years. Prices of food have gone up massively. Well, when we add retaliatory tariffs on food products, things like orange juice, well, that increases the cost for all these businesses that rely on U.S. inputs as part of their business. I'm talking grocery stores here, but we can talk about all the breakfast restaurants, the small mom and pop shops across the country that serve orange juice as part of their offering to consumers. Well, if we impose a 25% tax on those or a 25% tariff on those, basically, that cost then gets passed on to the consumers. Well, of course, to the business that sells this orange juice, but then to us, ultimately, as Canadian consumers of those goods.
So why is it, do you think, that tariffs are being deployed? Why is President Trump deploying these tariffs if it's bad for his economy? Why is the Canadian government retaliating and Ontario and other provinces retaliating given the impact on their economies?
If we look at what President Trump's been saying, he's been kind of all over the place on the issue. He's playing everything from fentanyl and immigration all the way to trying to bring back American manufacturing jobs. I think one of the most repeated arguments from the U.S. is this idea that it can bring back manufacturing jobs. Now, that is simply not true, and it's something where it seems his administration is quite misguided because we went down this road before. So Trump imposed tariffs on steel and aluminum back in 2018, and this idea was that it would bring back steel production, aluminum production, and cause this new golden age for U.S. manufacturing. Now, it did bring back some jobs in the steel and aluminum sector, somewhere between 1,000 and 1,800 jobs. But further down the line, for every single business that uses steel and aluminum as part of their manufacturing processes, this caused job losses. Now, it's estimated that for every single job that was created in the U.S. steel and aluminum industry, about 75 to 80 jobs were lost in the transformation sector. So it's really hard to say that the U.S. came out ahead when for every single job created, 75 was basically made worthless and was destroyed in the process.
That's a really interesting statistic. I actually haven't heard that one before. So it was a net decline in jobs for America with the original tariffs. Renaud, we're going to take a brief break. I know we've got still lots to talk about. We're going to take a brief break for commercial messages. We'll be back with you after this break. Thank you.